makes the beacon adaptive. You know, you can leave your phone somewhere and it will become a beacon connecting Bluetooth devices. If you take your phone away, the fridge will take over and becomes a beacon. It's a very, very, you know, nice technology. Got an encryption system, putting your family photos and, you know, company secrets online. You know, many, many technologies. Two friends here who are partners with me now in this new company have a beam focusing for nuclear radiation therapy. So, you know, it's amazing the number of technologies. I actually speculate that Egypt is losing anywhere from $2 to $10 billion a year on uncollected royalties, things that Egyptians invented but never registered. And if they would have registered, we would have collected that money. So, you know, I'm really on a big drive personally, you know, with my friends and with others to, you know, get a bit more awareness about patents and more awareness about the value of the patents, you know. And, you know, we think we're doing good. You know, I'm planning a trip to Morocco and Tunis this month. We want to make an Arab initiative out of it. You know, it is really not nice to be suing companies for money. They don't believe, I think they believe they don't owe us the money, you know. But the patent system is about that the inventor gets rewarded for his innovation. And that's what drives the world. That's what's driving innovation. Everybody gets his share, you know, and for patents to get 5–6% of a product's price is a very fair deal, I believe. But, you know, in any case, we, you know, so we needed a partner. I've got the top patent lawyer in the US, the top that's collecting, I think, about $400 million a year. He's now, Egyptians abroad are phenomenal. I mean, the top AI person in the world is Egyptian, a friend of mine. Now, he used to publish about, you know, predicting the stock market and stopped publishing. And we all wondered, why did he stop publishing? Of course, you figure it out later. He figured it out. Why would he publish, you know, how to predict the stock market? You just predict it for yourself. And that's what he does. You know, he predicts the market for himself. And it's like Karun's money. When he runs out of money, he goes and predicts the market for a week, makes some money, and leaves again, you know. And he's enjoying his life. He goes to the carnival in Rio de Janeiro, and, you know, that's all he does. Top encryption system in the world, Hanil Gamal in Stanford, you know. In the years 1990 to 2000, every department of communications in Canada was headed by an Egyptian. You know, like during that period when I was in my prime in communications in Canada, including in, I believe, I don't remember where in Ontario, the first lady dean was an Egyptian. You know, first lady dean of engineering in Canada ever was Egyptian. So we're very strong in communications. We're very strong in many fields. Unfortunately, we just don't have the pooling mechanism. We don't have the tools to, you know, bring our ideas together. If we did, and I'm hoping, you know, we can start that, you know, we can change the world and we can change our own view of ourselves. So I have to say, thank you very much.
He did the coding and modulation part for me, and I did the propagation part. And, you know, we realized that out of the 6 proposed technologies, GSM and a predecessor to it, IS-54, were the best technologies. And, you know, we recommended that to the phone company, and they were the first to launch 2G in the world. But we realized that there were problems with the communications, and we tried to solve them. We invented something called the phase estimator, which reduced the irreducible bit error rates. Irreducible meant it could not be reduced, but we reduced it. And a company, Rockwell, asked us to put it in a device, and we tried, and it, in theory, it improved the communications by about 1,000 times, meaning for a signal that was 1,000 times weaker, you get the same communications, same errors. But it didn't work. It only improved it about 1.5 times. And the reason for that was that telephones themselves were not designed properly, or were designed with the you know, parts that were available at the time. The crystals were not very accurate. You know, everything was not right. And engineers, by training, if you find a problem, you go to the book and find the solution and use it, and kept adding coding and modulation and, you know, all kinds of complicated things. Michel told me that he'd learned of another technology called WOFDM, and that he wants to talk to me about it, and I refused. I said, I've wasted enough time on your devices. I'm a phone company. I need to do services. In any case, he threatened me that our friendship is over if we don't sit and talk about this. I sat with him for half an hour, listened to WOFDM, and I loved it. It's a technology where in FM transmission, you use a channel 98.2. The next channel must be 98.4, which is 200 kilohertz apart. The FM communications only needs 50 kilohertz. The reason you leave 150 extra is in case the crystals move and you don't want one channel to spill over the next channel. In WOFDM, you give all the available channels to a single user. So this problem is gone. So at least there is 3 times as much communications or 4 times as much communications. In reality, you get 10 times more. So it's a very, very good technology. Of course, I saw the beauty of it straight away, and I, did some changes, and I, helped invent what's called wideband OFDM. Wideband OFDM is the technology used in the 11G, A, and N standards, which is the Wi-Fi of today. It's also used in the 4G in its entirety. The entire 4G standard, the WiMAX standard, was written by ourselves. Of course, the IEEE, the 802.16 did a lot of work on it, but the head of the chair of the committee and everybody else, many of his helpers were from WiLAN. The actual name WiMAX is a name that was a variation of WiLAN, our company, and when the WiMAX forum got started, 3 of its members were WiLAN. 2 subsidiaries of WiLAN, and Nokia and Ensemble were the founders of the WiMAX forum, and we stayed the chair of it till 2006, I believe. 3G was more of an accident. The day we filed the patent on Wi-Fi or on the WOFDM, I told Michel that I wanted to include security. I wanted to add some level of security into the device, and Michel didn't want it. So I phoned the lawyer behind his back, and I told him, just add a line, please, in the patent. And we added a line whereby we multiplied the signal before it went into a Fourier transform times a random complex numbers that had a unity amplitude. In any case, we did that, and it got written. And 6 months later, we had started a company. I just need to tell you a story. Michel and I, of course, when we invented WOFDM, we thought we're going to be very rich. We really talked about millions of dollars. And it kept getting lower and lower. We didn't want to start a company. So we sent 2 pagers to the likes of IBM, who never responded to us, the likes of Apple, the AT&T. AT&T had a very nice thing. They sent it to another company that did a review, and the reviewer wrote, short of making men sexier to women and curing dandruff, these guys claim that they have invented everything, So, we ignored that. I still have the letter. Apple said they're working on something similar. We didn't say we were doing OFDM, but we were doing high speed. They said we're working on something high speed, and we cannot sign any agreements on it. Siemens signed, and we talked to them. In any case, but nothing was happening, so our expectations got lowered to the level of $10,000. And I remember Michel calling me and saying, is it 10,000 each or 10,000 together? We were in the real estate business together, and I told him, well, at least we'll get some bathrooms fixed, In any case, about 6 months later, someone had convinced us that we were not going to get anywhere until we started a company and built prototypes. We had emulated the product, so OFDM was fully functional to us. We had sent it over the air and received it, and we were communicating, but not real time because processors were not fast enough then. So 6 months later, I hired my first employee. We call him employee 0 because someone else was paying his salary for a few months. Employee 0 was a computer scientist, and I asked him to simulate what Michel had done because now we're in a company and need to be sure of everything. He simulated it and told me out of all possible frames, now let's get this, we used 8 bits per symbol, and we had 64 symbols. So you can imagine how many combinations of data there was. He said there are 6 frames out of all the possible frames that will not make it through. And that was very annoying. I mean, you know, how can you have communications if some frames will never make it through? So I called Michel and said, we have a problem. And he said, what? You know, I explained to him, so he came, and he's had his simulation on his disk, and, you know, it worked. And, you know, we compared notes, and apparently he was using the encryption. You know, the coding, the multiplying times the complex number. And I said, why are you doing that? He said, well, it's in the patent, I used it. I said, but, you know, you never said, you said it's not good. He said, no, I used it. So that encryption, or multiplying times a complex number, saved the day. And we didn't actually file it in the US patent, meaning we didn't claim it. It was written in the patent, but not claimed. Which means it was ours, but, you know, we cannot enforce it on anybody else. So you know, a little after that, I, you know, decided that I want to describe WOFDM differently. Instead of saying it was many frequencies added together, I said it's many codes added together. So there was CDMA, and if you used all the CDMA codes for one user, all theoretical codes, for one user, it's the same result. If you used all frequencies or all codes, it's the same result. So we talked about adding codes, and I said, why use all? Use from 1 to n, not necessarily n. And that was really what started the speed of 3G. So 3G was more of an accident because of that encryption. And just for the world of patents, we are only about, I think, 11 days ahead of someone else in filing. So, you know, technologies develop, everybody develops them at the same time. You know, it bubbles, you know, but patents are important. We built a company, we focused on outdoors. We built WiMAX products from day one, so outdoor products that go far. I didn't do anything, I didn't build anything for Wi-Fi, I didn't contribute to the standard except allow it to use our patent. And that was in '98. In 2004, Broadcom and Intel were big now into the Wi-Fi. We had talked to everybody and had hoped that they will license quietly and nicely, and we had the promise from Cisco that they would license before they sold anything. Unfortunately, when they had their first press release about launching OFDM products, it was Bloomberg who set us up as enemies. They said, you know, but Cisco's going to have a problem because WLAN owns the patent, and WLAN, you know, is planning to be aggressive about its patent. You know, we own the patent, but we never said we'll be aggressive or anything. You know, I phoned Cisco and said, you promised to license? They said, yes, we promised, but look at what Bloomberg said. You know, we need to fight. I said, okay, we'll fight. And, you know, just cutting a long story short, from, I think it was 2011, where we reached settlement with almost everybody in the industry. WLAN collected over $700 million on those patents. If I was the CEO at the time, I would have collected $2 billion. But, you know, you can't win everything. You know, the 4G, we didn't collect anything on. The 4G is not big yet. The only funny thing was Apple. When we, you know, and I don't like suing. Before suing companies, I stepped down. But in any case, when we settled with everybody, because we had sued 25 companies, and the companies that make the semiconductors promised to cover everybody else. So 4 companies covered the bill of everybody, of the, you know, the rest of the 25 companies. But to get the 21 other companies off, we asked for $2 million each, just so that they don't say afterwards that we sued them unnecessarily. Everybody paid except Apple, and they said, we're comfortable, we're never going to sue you, and we're not planning to use your technology on our own. Well, about 1.5 years before the patent expired, they launched the iPhone 3G. And of course, that caused about 280 million of damages. And we're still in court over that. And the judge has already ruled that if they are found infringing, that it would be willful infringement because they know of the patent and, have all reasons that they should have licensed.